Group. I just wanted to let everyone know, you probably just got a notification, we'll be recording this to be posted later for our group. And so a couple kind of housekeeping things. While the presentation is going, we ask that you put any questions in the chat. We will have time for questions at the end, and we can address anything. Someone will be monitoring the chat. And also feel free to put them to the group, or you can send them to me directly if you want to ask something anonymously. So I would like to introduce our host for today. So Aditi Vyas, who is a science consultant for Cerneos Group in Massachusetts. So she's here today to talk a little bit about science consulting, her path to this profession, and some other insights about it. So with that, take it away, Aditi. I'm looking forward to hearing from you.
Thank you so much, Brittany, for the introduction. I'm so glad that everyone here could join today. And I'm so happy to share my experiences with everyone on how I became a life sciences consultant with Cerneos and how you can navigate your own process. So I'm hoping everyone can see my slide. If you cannot, please let me know. And okay, that's good. And you can ask any questions in the chat. I will try to answer as efficiently as I could, but at the end we could have a Q&A and we can do more like a conversation discussion kind of a thing. So before I begin, I would like to know a little bit about who's here today. So I would like to know a little bit about you all who's attending the event today. So we are talking about how you can navigate from PhD, postdoc into the life science consulting sector of the industry. And I myself am a PhD. I recently graduated with my degree in biological sciences. And I am sure there are so many of them who could relate to what I'm going to be talking. So really quickly, if everyone in the group can maybe, if you would not like to introduce much in detail, but just a little bit about where you are in your career. So if you're a PhD student, that I'm a first year, second year, third year PhD student, postdoc, and what field of study you are currently doing. If you're not a PhD or postdoc, if you're just a graduate or undergraduate student, that's completely fine too. You can just mention about your interests. So just a brief introduction from all of you would be great. So if you can share a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, and if you didn't see it from Britt, you can post it in the chat and then we can all see where you are.
Awesome. Seems like we have a lot of PhD in biomedical sciences, and that is great because we are going to be talking about life sciences and how to navigate this whole process. And you can continue with typing whatever you're typing, but I'm just going to close the chat. I just wanted to get a gist of who's in the audience and what their interests are, and just help me navigate through the process. So a little bit about the overview of our presentations. I'll give my introduction, what I have done in the past, what I'm currently doing, and as a consultant, what is consulting, who can do consulting, and as a PhD and postdoc, how can you get into consulting? So we'll discuss a little bit about that. So to introduce myself, my name is Aditi Vyas, and I completed my physical therapy degree in 2015. And after that, I completed my master's in exercise science and kinesiology. After that, I got to do my PhD in biological sciences, and my focus of study was neurocardiovascular physiology. So I studied how the sympathetic nervous system interacts with our blood pressure regulation, and I also studied mindfulness-based stress reduction, which is a new technique which got really popular during COVID, and how you can reduce stress using meditation and mindfulness. After I completed my PhD, I started working as a life sciences and clinical regulatory consultant at Cerneos Group in Boston. We have Richard in our audience today. He is the CEO of Cerneos Group, and we have a couple of our affiliates as well today joining us. So a little bit about myself again. How did I get into this? What was my journey into consulting after PhD? So I was doing my physical therapy degree. I got to be a healthcare professional. I was a clinician. I was treating my patients with various techniques, various medical equipments, which I was using on everyday basis. And there was this science behind it. And I was always interested in what was the evidence behind all the techniques I was using. And always was intrigued by the evidence-based methods. And that's where I started getting into my master's program, where I was doing hands-on research on all the techniques I was using as a master's in exercise sciences. And I was always interested in going into the academia at point, and understanding how academia worked, because I was still a new undergraduate student interested in seeing this really cool equipments which are wireless and Wi-Fi enabled, and so interesting to me. And since after that, I completed my master's, and immediately I completed my master's. I went on to get my PhD. I had a really good PhD offer, which was really close to where I was at my master's. So I was in the Upper Peninsula, Michigan, which was really isolated from the rest of the United States. It's a very snowy, cold town. And that's where I got my PhD at Michigan Technological University. I did a lot of clinical research, human studies, human subject research. And at that point, I was teaching to undergraduate students as an anatomy and physiology instructor, biology instructor. I was taking so many classes to undergrad. I was mentoring undergraduate student. And at that point, honestly, I just thought that, okay, I'm doing this. I have this lab. This is a really cool lab. I had affiliated labs as well, which I was working in, which all of you might be able to relate to, that we work simultaneously in so many labs. We have so much of overlap with other graduate students, other PhDs and postdocs. And I was like, oh, I just want to continue doing postdoc and take a tenure track position after that. And clinical research was going fine. I was enjoying the human studies. But what happened in 2020 was COVID, and all of my studies shut down because they were in-person laboratory testings, and we were not allowed to do that anymore. And that kind of questioned me, reflected back into me and what I was doing at that point. I was trying to understand this academic process. And during that time as well, my advisor, my primary advisor, left the current university where I was in and joined another university as another employee. Now, these are some of the really difficult uh, things we navigate as PhDs and postdocs, that we have to move to where our PIs are going. We have to figure out funding for one another. And then last year, I visited a conference in Philadelphia, and I came across one professional who was doing life science consulting. And they were at the conference where most of the tenure track professors were there, and they were the only one who was talking about life science consulting. And I was like, okay, that's really, really nice, but that's really bold. And how to understand what, that was the first time I heard about life sciences consulting. And at that point, I was totally interested in the academic setting, because that's the only experience I had. And once I spoke to that person in the conference, I was like, okay, this is really interesting. And maybe there is more to my PhD than going into postdoc and continuing as a tenure track professor, an experience I never had in my life, which was working in the industry, in the life sciences industry, pharmaceutical, biotech, biopharma, medical device industry. I never had that experience. And I was like, now is a very good time for me to experience that, for me to decide that this is my career trajectory and this is what I want to continue doing for the rest of my life. And that's when I started researching more about consulting. I started speaking to more individuals who were doing consulting. And that's where I came across a consulting position, scientific consulting position at Cerneos with Richard. And I spoke to him. He's lovely. He gave me the assurance that I was doing really great. I had the skills. I had all the expertise which was required to navigate the process and help the clients which we were serving. So today I am going to speak to you about how you can leverage your skills as a PhD and postdoc and transition into the consulting or any biopharma biotech industry. So what is consulting? This is a very broad term we all have used so far, and we all have at some point in our PhDs done consulting. We have spoken to stakeholders in our PhD, we have spoken to sponsors, we have spoken to investigators to give them an advice that, okay, this is the direction we should be going forward with this particular project. And that's what consultants do. We as consultants provide our expertise to advance this particular field and attain these really good outcomes, the really cool outcomes, to have new products, new projects, new items in the world which can help the people all around the world improve the quality of life. If we are developing pharmaceutical products or medical device products, or just generate new research ideas. And that's what consultants do, generate new ideas. Now you would ask me, how am I, like, how can I as a PhD, postdoc, or even a master's student, how can I do that? Now, we do that every day in our PhD studies, right? We go through researching the internet extensively, recommending projects to our PI, helping them write our grants. This is all part of consulting. We help our clients through the process of their projects regarding how to start the project, how to strategically plan their project, how to go through the ethical and regulatory compliance, how to develop business strategies. This is all part of our PhDs, which we can carry forward with us in the next stage of our life. And as you can see, consulting, most of that portion we have already completed. So I'm going to highlight how specifically those aspects as a PhD and postdocs we have completed, and you can carry that forward with you. So who can do life science consulting? That would be the biggest question you would ever have. So life sciences consulting can be done by anybody who has completed a degree in life sciences. So bachelor's, master's, PhD, postdoc. And life sciences is a very broad field, which can include biological sciences, biomedical sciences, biomedical engineering. And this list goes on forever. So anything which deals with life sciences can be regarded as that. Someone who's a healthcare professional, maybe a physician, nurse, PT like me, OTs. There are other individuals who work in the healthcare industry, which can be a really good asset to the consultant industry. PhDs and postdocs like you and other graduate students, we undergo so much of extensive research in our graduate studies and postdoc studies days that we are already well versed with the whole idea of how consulting works. We just have to align our thoughts together. Then there are scientists which are already working in the industry or in academia as assistant associate professors. They also make really good consulting because they have this experience with lab work, bench work, how to conduct experiments, but also navigate through other administrative personals as well in terms of getting more grant funding, in getting more independent funding in case of scientists who are working in the industry. But then there are also other professionals like who have strong understanding of regulatory compliance globally, who have understanding of business strategies, marketing, and there are so many things which a consultant can do with a number of expertise they have. What all of these things, all of these expertise leads us to is the understanding of the current business and market trends. That's what every client of ours or yours would be doing, is being up to date with the research, being up to date with the product they are developing, being the only novel design they have in the industry so that their product could be sold out there. And that's what, as in academia, we also learn to do: get our research out, get our projects out, make it more visible. And we all have had those skills already within us. How do you know that? Do you have those skills already which are required for consulting? That's one question which you would ask me. And let me tell you, while we are going through this whole graduate school process, we have attained so many of our skills which are so important to take forward in the industry or academia setting, if you're a consultant in academia. So one of them is very important, which is communication skills. We all have been communicating our research, be it written skills or oral skills. So when you are a consultant, you do a lot of paperwork. You have to know the scientific terminologies, and you should be writing reports, white papers, budgets, regulatory compliance documentation. And if you have that understanding, which you have as a PhD, trying to understand that, okay, this is the direction I want to take my project in. And you have that understanding because you have been researching for 4, 5, 6 years, and you have that communication skills. Now, other part of communication skills, which we talk about, which are very important for consulting. So as a consultant, we are acting as a liaison between our clients and the research team members, that these are the necessary deliverables which are important to be completed in so and so time. Now, some part of the team would understand the scientific jargon, but some might not. And you, as a consultant, as a life sciences consultant, are very much equipped with understanding the scientific jargon. So you have already communicated your presentations during PhD and postdoc in conferences, at seminars, in local outreaches, where you're trying to converse with individuals who are laymen, who don't understand as much of scientific jargon, but you do, and you're able to well communicate with them, and you have attained that communication skills. You have attained those communication skills while taking classes or teaching classes, mentoring other students in your research lab. Other skills which are very important for consulting include research skills. And we have had extensive experience with research, looking into Google Scholar, looking into PubMed extensively for long hours. We have done that. We know how to find the correct article, how to correctly find the gap in the research, how to look for trends and patterns, how to look for outcome. We are able to correctly read those papers, and that is very essential, because in consulting, you would have clients who would want to start a project, but would have limited idea on how to begin with the project. They would have the idea of what they want to do, but the project designing or protocol designing, or how to go forward with proposals or other documentation, that's where your research skills come in play, where you already are you already are understanding what is required to tell your client that this is the direction they should be going in terms of their project, which would yield them the maximum results they are hoping to get with their product or whatever they are developing in that sense. Now, all of these skills also come in alignment with our critical thought process. So if a client is asking that, I want to continue doing this project, but I am not sure if this will work or not, you're able to think as a PhD that I have spent so many years researching my project. I have troubleshooted so many equipment, so many results, that now I know how to navigate what is going to work, what is not going to work, and trying to understand with little to no information that I can take this project in the right direction. And that's what is very important, is to understand, give a rationale, give a reasoning behind what you're doing, because we all are able to know what we want to do, but we are not able to understand why we want to do this certain thing or certain scientific work. And that's where our critical thinking process comes into play, is because we are able to justify that this is why I want to do so and so thing, and this is going to yield me really good revenue in terms of money or in terms of other deliverables. And that's what you already have as PhDs, postdocs, and other graduate students. Now, what can you do if you're already in a PhD program and in a postdoc program or other master's or undergraduate program? How would you analyze what skills you should be attaining? Now, when I was doing my PhD, I just graduated in August, and I was unable to understand the industry requirements as to if I wanted to go into consulting, which I was really interested in, but I was unable to understand what is required of me. What I was being very modest. I had that imposter syndrome coming and highlighting on me that I'm not good enough, I don't know anything. But I had to sit down and write my skills as to so far what have I done, what I could add to as a consultant to the company I'm working for, what are my expertises. And I tried to reflect back, and I came with so many of projects I had worked with, and I had this strong understanding of so many different therapeutic areas. So my PhD was, even though in cardiovascular, I tried to do so much other things such as human factors, digital health. I tried to do telemedicine. I tried to do other clinical research. I tried to understand the regulatory aspects of clinical research. And I tried to expand on my expertise at as much as I can, because I could value that, or I could be helpful in adding those to my potential clients and the company I'm working for. During that time, if you're a PhD postdoc, you're good at communicating. There is no doubt, because you're taking this really cool seminars and presentations. When you're going to conferences, try networking. You need to add like-minded people who are thinking that we want to do this in the industry or biotech or biopharma industry, and we want to continue networking. And that's when you need to go approach individuals, start speaking with them, and talk to them about the current trends which are there in the job search process, or how you can get into certain roles. Like in my case, if you were to ask me, how did I get into consulting, life science consulting role? And that's how you would network with individuals. Then also looking at current market research, right? We want to see what the current market trends are. We want to see what is really going on, how I can add up as a life sciences or biomedical sciences professional into the industry. Now, consulting, anybody can do who has a life science, but now we require this expertise in whatever we are doing. And as PhDs, we have found that niche for ourselves, that this is what I'm really good at. It could be anything from transferable soft skills to technical hard skills. And that's where your market research would help you, that what are the current needs of the market? Are they looking for somebody with certain type of technical skills or certain type of transferable skills like communication skills? Are you able to talk to the stakeholders? Are you able to generate more revenue? Are you able to get more clients for them? So those are some of the things you want to see in the market research. Then during your PhD and postdoc, one really important thing which I wanted to do but I was unable to do was do some sort of training or internship. But while I was in the middle of my PhD, pandemic hit, And I couldn't really do an internship because all of the clinical research was not ongoing at that point. And all of the research within the university was also kind of shut down. So I was not really left with many options, but that doesn't mean that you are going to lose hope. You could always go do more trainings in other labs which are working at your university. So at that point, I started training with another lab of mine, which was also doing some sort of industry research. And that is very important to find who is doing the research, what you're interested in. And I was researching cardiovascular system, and I was really interested in how sleep would affect our blood pressure. And there was a really cool project on sleep number mattress going on in my university. And I decided to volunteer for that and just take my knowledge and expand that and expand my expertise. And that's what you should be looking into in PhD and postdoc training, that even though you're not able to get any internship, but that doesn't mean you can stop your training. You can continue your training, but expanding your expertise and not just limiting to your lab, your research, and expanding into other ones and seeing what other labs are doing in the university or at other universities, for example. That would help you be updated with how you can leverage your skills when you go out in the job market and look for positions in life sciences industry. Some some places would let you do freelancing consulting as well, but that you would have to contact with everyone and see if they are willing to hire you as a freelance consultant, to see if you could get those little projects, understand the language, what they are using at the industry, which is very much different than our university setting. We are so much imbibed in our research that we use so much of academic jargons. We are unable to understand the same words but in a different same concept but different words in the industry setting. So with freelancing or a little bit of volunteering or little bit of exposure, you will be able to understand how the industry or how the companies work. And one of the very important thing I feel is very important for us as PhDs and postdocs is to be comfortable being uncomfortable. I am not sure how I am able to convey this, but we are solo riders. We sit in our labs. We do so much of research in the lab, and sometimes we fear getting out and talking to individuals, and we are unable to communicate at times. But at times we're able to communicate as well, and that is really good. And we want to continue doing that and continue speaking to more and more people, getting into situation which would take out those skills or those talents within yourself. So if you are in the networking process, talking to more people who are on LinkedIn, for example, sending them a connection request, striking a conversation on how they are, where they are, and how that got into that position would make you being uncomfortable, because if you're an introverted, you are not like talking, but that would put you forth with your skills, communication skills, while you're in PhD, and that you can see how individuals speak to one another and take that forward with us. And you would also learn about what is really ongoing research in the industry as well. What are they excited about in their work? What are they doing every day at their job and their workplaces? And that would keep you updated with the market research as well. And that is ongoing research. Whatever is the interest of the industry is ongoing. It would navigate or be less more depending on what the requirement is at the current point. So 2 years ago, we were really interested in vaccine development, and that's where all of the interest was diverted to vaccine development. And if you are updated with the market research, you would know what kind of consultant or other professionals were required in the vaccines and what are currently required with COVID being settled down from now. And that's why it is important to develop some of the already developed skills, but take it out and be more forward with it during your PhD and postdoc training, because that would help you decide your own professional trajectory, which I share with all of you because during navigating this whole process, I realized that I did not understand this whole process early on in my PhD. And that kind of put me in a situation where I had difficulties talking to individuals. Difficulties was so modest talking about my research, but it was really cool and really interesting. But I was so modest and so scared because I had that imposter syndrome within me. But now I'm taking that, I'm being in charge of my own professional trajectory, and I'm giving all of the skills I have to Cerneos Group right now and enhancing all the client experiences we have. And then finally, you would ask me who hires these consultants. There are so many companies or firms who hire life sciences consultants, from larger consulting firms to smaller consulting firms to biopharma, biotech, medical device, in healthcare. This list is endless, and you can find so many opportunities because you are the expert in here. You know your stuff, you know how you can be an asset to a company or institution. And that's where you can add value to yourself and for whoever you're working for. So this is all about me, but this seminar, I want to focus on what you're doing and how you're navigating your whole process. So whoever is in the audience, I'm going to give a little bit of an information, and then we are going to figure out a really quick, small activity about consulting. So all of us here, I want you to sit down for a minute and think about your expertise or your expertises. So make a whole list of expertises you have. It can be all the skills, all the hard skills, all the soft skills you have, and write and narrow down that to your expertises. Once you have that, I want you to figure out what is your target industry. What are you focusing on? What are you interested in? Biopharma, biotech, medical device? Are you interested in consulting firms, larger consulting firms? What are you interested in? And then narrate a 30-second pitch to a client in life sciences industry who's approaching to hire you as a consultant. Now, this last segment we are going to do in the breakout room. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes to really quickly. You don't have to have like very detailed, like the perfect narration, but like just an idea about what is your expertise, what is your target industry, and 30 seconds of a pitch to your client in life science industry who wants to come up as a consultant. And while you're preparing this, I'm going to divide you in breakout rooms. So now this is an opportunity for you not only to pitch your expertise, but also network with other individuals who are like-minded or who are interested in similar interests as yours. So we will go forward with this. I'm going to give you 2 minutes really quickly. We don't need to really have like a perfect answer, but just like a blueprint of what you're going to say. And in the meantime, I'm just going to divide everyone in the breakout rooms, and we all will pitch our 30 seconds pitch to everyone in the breakout rooms. And then we'll meet up again to have a final Q&A. Does that sound okay? If you have any questions, please write down in the chat box so I know if there are any concerns which I should be addressing before I distribute everyone into the breakout rooms. But 2 minutes and have a pitch ready, and then we all will discuss with one another the pitch, network with one another, that you're meeting them at a place and you're networking. Okay. So we'll start, go forward with your activity. And then I am just gonna have everyone in the breakout rooms. So you should be automatically added into the breakout rooms, and I will try to drop in for a couple of minutes in each breakout rooms, and we'll go forward with discussing our pitch with one another.
I just want to say I don't see it. I don't know if you put me in one, but I just don't know if that's everyone is.
I think you are there. I'm just allotting the rooms right now. Give me a
Oh.
second. Yeah.
Oh, I see it now.
If you're in one of these rooms, what I'd suggest you do is to turn on your camera and microphone if you wanted to participate.
Awesome. Thank you so much for participating, everyone. This was great. I hope you all got an opportunity to connect with one another, talk about what you're currently doing, what are your aspirations in the future in terms of the industry you want to join. And I'm not going to make everyone speak in the main room, so don't worry about that. But this was really great, and it was a really nice opportunity to at least have an opportunity to speak to everyone in the breakout rooms, and I hope you all also had that opportunity. My LinkedIn is here. You can scan the QR code through your phone, and you should be able to send me a connection request on LinkedIn. And I am more than happy to connect with everyone and even share my other experiences and my current job duties or anything, whatever assistance required from my side. I'm more than happy to do that. And I'm more than happy to answer any other questions you have. So if you want to turn off your mic and talk about the questions, or just type it in the chat.
Yeah, and I'm happy to moderate and read out anything that comes through the chat.
Awesome.
And then one thing I wanted to mention, since Richard brought this up, is that Cerneos, where Aditi works, is hiring for consultants and science writers. So if you want to check them out, I'm going to put the link to their website in the chat. So we do have one question. I'll read it out. So thank you for sharing your career journey. Where is the boundary of influence in the consultant-client relationship, i.e. how much are you involved in the decision-making, accountability, and actionable items in the direction of a project?
So yes, that is a really good question. And so we are experts, we are consultants. We drive our clients to decide what would be the correct path into taking. Ultimately, it is their decision into what they want to involve or go forward with their project. But our job as a consultant is to give them the advice that this is the right direction. So there is a lot of accountability and a lot of influence consultants have in client decision making, and how they can change the direction of, or just direct the project in the right path. And that all depends on what the current market trends are, correct? And as a consultant, we are the ones who are most up to date, and that's why they come to us for consulting and getting that expert advice, because we are the right personnel. We are most up to date. We understand most of the things or jargons, or what are the necessary documentations which are required, what are necessary recommendations. So yes, there is a lot of influence which consultants can have, but ultimate decision maker are your clients. So giving them that autonomy to be able to decide is also very important.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then we had another question from the audience. So how did you decide which consulting group to join?
Yes, that is also a very good question. So as I was looking into consulting last year, when I knew more about consulting, I wanted to join a company which was giving me more experience, more hands-on experience. So where I was trying to do more, have one-on-one interaction with clients, just not the paperwork side of it, but have more interactions with my client, and just everywhere globally, not just in the US. So I was looking for a group where I would have as much exposure as I could. And that's what I looked for. And for me, it turned out that Cerneos, a small, medium-sized company, works really best. And I would want to work in a company like that, where I have been Richard, and working with Richard is a great opportunity, because he gives all of his consultants an opportunity to have their experiences communicated, or have their advices or suggestions communicated to their clients. And that was really important to me, because I like being heard, and I like being listened to, and I like my expertise to be put forth in a decision-making process. And that's when I realized that for me, a small, medium company was the best to work as I was beginning to transition from my PhD into postdoc, because I could explore so many of my opportunities. So you need to decide if you are the one, what would be a right fit for you. Do you enjoy working in an environment where there are many people? Are you enjoying working with a smaller team? How does that work for you? That is very important to understand when you decide for your career path.
Okay, great. So the next question, I see two more at the moment. So when is a good time to start applying for jobs? I guess that's kind of general as well as for.
Yeah, that's a very general question. So if you know, if you have a timeline in your graduate studies as to when you're looking for a job, I would say a couple of months in advance. It all again depends. What are you planning on taking a break after your PhD postdoc? Do you want to continue doing it right after you complete your degree or your training? So it all depends on you, but it takes quite a while to build that network and contact or come in contact with those individuals who either are hiring or who know of any opportunities. So I would suggest, instead of starting to apply for a job, a good idea is to start networking early on in your PhD postdoc training, because networking early is what is going to lead you to where you want to be in a couple of months or a couple of years. And jobs are ongoing, and you would have to find the right fit for yourself. So I would suggest networking is something you would want to start early on. You want to make yourself visible that, yes, you are there. This is your expertise. This is what you can provide if you're going into consulting, or if you want to go into another field, this is what this skills or this talent you can provide to your clients. And for that, you have to be visible. And for being visible, we all have to speak and talk. And it all comes back to communication and networking and being comfortable with being uncomfortable. So all of that is a process which you should be navigating in your PhD, so that once you're done with your PhD, you have something at the end.
Okay. So yeah, that's great advice kind of for anyone at any stage. So the last question I see is, why did you join a group as to starting your own consulting company?
That is a very good question, and I'm not sure I have a good I have the right answer. So I am an international student. I cannot have a consulting company in the US. That is one thing. But aside from that, I also don't have any consulting experience prior to joining Cerneos, right? So I have to build my credibility that, yes, I am a good consultant. I can provide my expert services. So I have, again, making myself visible, right? Making myself visible that I can provide these solutions to my client. And that only comes when you have that credibility with you and when you're that visible in the market. So you need to build that slowly with your clients. Now, with word of mouth, you would say that you can do consulting jobs, but why would anybody hire somebody who's a new consultant versus somebody as experienced as Richard, right? So that credibility is something which we have to take on to and build that, and network and being visible, again, coming back to all of those things. And my idea was that, versus not the international stuff. I wanted to have my own I wanted to build my own experiences and my own credibility in the industry.
Okay, so I don't see any other questions in the chat. If anyone has anything else, please feel free to either speak up or add it. But thank you so much.
There was one question, Dominic, at the beginning, which we didn't really check. So,
did I miss something?
Yeah, on the top.
Do you want to answer? Sorry, I'm not sure which one you're talking about.
I'll read the question. So Jian Shengboi said that, thank you for sharing your career journey. where is the boundary of influence in the consultant-client relation? That's the question
Oh
you
yeah, I
have?
thought we went over that. Yeah.
Okay, yes. I'm sorry, I got confused.
That's okay. I know everything kind of gets lost as the chat keeps going.
That is great. And thank you, Dominic, Brittany, and Richard, for giving me this opportunity. And I'm thankful to all of the aspiring consultants or PhD postdocs in this group. And I hope to connect with you after the event is done as well. And keep in touch and ask me anything which concerns you. And I hope to see you all again soon. So yeah, I think we are on time.
Yeah, no, perfect timing. So thank you so much everyone for attending, and feel free to connect with anyone on LinkedIn and follow Beyond the PhD.
Yeah, awesome. This is great, Dominic and Brittany, that you have so many good resources for all the PhDs, and being able to connect with everyone is really great. And I really wish I had something like that when I was doing my PhD. And it was like a roadblock, and I'm so glad that I found you guys.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Richard, for being here.
Pleasure. Aditi, Dominique, have